Hello, students. We're going to be talking about segmenting and target markets and psychographics and demographics. So your objectives here are, first off, we'll cover segmentation and wanting you to understand how segmentation is used to select your target audience. And then secondly, some of the different ways that we segment those target audiences by psychographics and demographics. So listen up, here we go. First off, this concept of segmenting. Pretty simple. Think of a giant pizza and you cut it into slices. From a marketing standpoint, that's what segmenting is in the broadest sense. And I'll give you an example. Let's consider bicycle riders, folks who ride bicycles. Bicycles are a pretty universal product. A lot of people use them, and there's a lot of different segments. Now, our natural inclination when we start thinking of what's the broad product category? Bicycles. And what are all the different segments? So we'd say, well, there's kids bikes, there's mountain bikes, there's road bikes like triathlete bikes. In other parts of the world, there's just regular commuter bikes because that's how people get around to work. There's beach cruisers. So we would think that we'd be segmenting, and that is a form of segmenting. You're segmenting by product type. But more commonly as marketers, when we think of segmenting, we want to segment by type of user. Who's the actual user? So instead of saying beach cruisers, we'd say young adults between the ages of 18 and 24 would be most commonly beach cruisers. And they're in warm climates, right? If we were thinking of mountain bikes, the user is going to be predominantly male, and it's going to be a male probably between the ages of 14 to 45. Men start aging out of mountain biking as they get older. It's a little hard on the body. If we were thinking road bikes, that's somebody with an income of X, could be male, female. So I want you to understand the distinction of when we segment, we can think of all the different types of users, and we're segmenting by those types of users. So our segmenting descriptions are by the type of user, and that type of user is what we call a target audience. So as you see in this slide here on your third bullet point, it talks about some of the different ways that we can segment. Demographics are by far the most common. Demographics are identifiable ways of describing your target audience. I'm sure you've heard of the term demographics, and it's a way of quantifying a potential prospect, a customer. Age, income, gender, ethnicity, household income, those are all demographic descriptors. And we describe our audiences first off by using demographics because it's an easy way to identify the customer. And it's the most common way of segmenting. And demographic descriptors tie into the media that we're going to use to reach that target audience, because different media vehicles are delivering different types of demographics. If you're watching ESPN, you're most likely a male. If you're watching The View during early midday, you're more likely a woman and probably either a retired woman or a housewife, a stay-at-home mom. So there's a link between the demographic descriptors and the type of media that you're going to use to find that demographic. In other words, media is the pond, and you want to find the right pond to fish for your target audience. The first bullet point on this slide talks about the broad product categories. So this is understanding if I have a product idea, which is what I'm asking you to think about for this slide and this kind of exercise here, what broad product category segment am I in? I want to open up a burger joint because what do we need more than another hamburger fast food restaurant, right? So if I do that, I would need to do some research to find out what industry am I in. And since I used to work in this industry, I know, okay, that's in the quick service restaurant industry. And that would include places like chicken places and pizza places, but also hamburger chains. So it'd be the quick service restaurant sector, and specifically in the segment of hamburger chains. So that's where we start drilling down to what segments are we in. So that's kind of a broad brush segmentation round one. Now to help you try to figure out, I have this product idea, what sector, what industry am I in? These are some sources, these are links here, the underlined red text are links to websites. The NAIC, the North American Industry Classification listings, it's used by folks when they file taxes, when businesses file taxes. It's a way for the government to track what are all these industries doing? Are they growing? Are they shrinking? Are they making money? Are they losing money? And it's a way for us as marketers to kind of find out what sector we are in. That list is very long and hard to read, the NAIC. Another way you can do this, your second bullet point on this slide, is to go to Morningstar.com. Morningstar is a stock quote site like E-Trade and all these other ones. But if you go into Morningstar.com and it's got a search bar in there, you can type in a business that's already in that sector. So maybe you want to be the next cell phone manufacturer and you've got a product idea. You can go to Morningstar.com and type in an existing competitor that you know of. They have to be a public company. Go to Morningstar and type in Apple, and it'll take a little bit, but then it'll pull up a quote for Apple. It'll tell you their stock price and a bunch of other stuff. But if you look at the horizontal menu bar on the far right there, there's a selection called Profile. And if you click on Profile, it will, as you scroll down, it'll tell you what sector and industry that Apple is in. You can do this for your own product categories for us, but you have to find an existing business, a large, well-known company that's probably public and therefore selling stock and therefore listed, and you can find their information to find out what sector you're in. Another source you can look at is Google Shopping. That's an easy down and dirty one to kind of see how many other brands are in this space. Later on in the course, when we get into digital advertising and marketing, I'll show you some sites you can go to look up keywords and find out how much volume there is around different keywords. But this is all make-believe at this point for these slides. But if you're to think about, I have a product idea, you should know what sector am I in? What's this kind of broad product category that I'm in? How many competitors are there? And these sites here can help you kind of with that process. So segmentation, you start with a broad product category, bicycle riders, and then you think about and identify all the different segments within that broad product category, mountain bikes, road bikes, etc. You describe those different segments by demographics for the actual target audience users, and then that helps you as a marketer to define which segment do I want to go into and compete in. What's the unmet need of that segment where I have a product category that isn't already being served by existing competitors? If it's already being served and you're a new entrant, well, you're coming into a segment that has competitors, that puts you at a little bit of a disadvantage. So you want to try to find out where there's an unmet need that isn't currently being served, right? Okay, so that's how we as marketers think of starting identifying where there's opportunities in the marketplace. Oftentimes, what marketers do is they fall in love with their product idea first, and they forget about thinking about what's the size of the industry. Is there even a large enough target audience that wants to buy this product idea? Are there already existing competitors that are entrenched and will be tough to compete against? So maybe you have an idea for a beach-themed coffee shop with sand floors and all kinds of cool decorations, and you start falling in love with your product idea, but you forget that you're in a highly competitive segment which includes brands like Peet's Coffee, Dunkin' Donuts, and this little coffee chain company that you might have heard about called Starbucks, right? So we want to think of the broad product category and the different segments and where the opportunities are for us first. So that's segmenting. All right, once again, I've changed shirts to see if you're paying attention on these lectures. So this slide talks about how to identify target markets. I've already talked about demographics, which are categorized ways of identifying a target audience. It could be age, it could be gender, it could be ethnicity and household income. These are all where you fit in a specific box. That's demographics. The other piece is psychographics. So let me expand more on psychographics, which is the other way of describing target audiences. And the reason these descriptors, demographic and psychographic, are important is because this is how businesses select the media that they're going to advertise on to reach their target audience. And all the different media channels, TV, radio, print, social media, are delivering different combinations of demographics and psychographics. Now, one of the advantages of social media is that it can give you a lot of psychographic information because they're collecting not just your demographics, what's your age, what's your income, what's your gender, but also what are your interests? Do you like to listen to classical music? And all that's being mined, that data is being gathered on social media. So one of the first things you do as a marketer is you should have a very intimate and thorough understanding of who is your target audience, who is your ideal customer. And you should be able to very specifically describe that target audience with demographics and psychographics. This slide 6, is showing you some of the common ways demographically of describing your target audience. Like I said, there's age, gender, race, ethnicity, geography, where they live, what's their income or social class, are they middle class, upper class, lower class, etc. So these are the common demographic descriptions for describing a target audience. And that underlined yellow link there will give you a broader description on demographics.